Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing opus55 in the 15-minute pool on ICC. I'm going to open with d4 in this game. Had to wait a little while before getting this game, hence the rating difference, 18-14 from this player. And we have a Queen's Gambit decline. He's playing, oh, okay, now it's a Tarrasch variation, c5. I'll take on d5. And one line white can play here is d takes c5. It's not the most common move at this juncture, but the idea is to try to attack d5 twice. Then after d4, knight e4, black can play bishop takes c5, and I think white tends to get like maybe a small edge out of that, but nothing to write home about. So I'm just going to stick with the main move, knight f3. The Tarrasch variation has kind of been revived in recent years because of a book published by Jacob Agard and his co-author, Nico Natirlis, I believe is the guy's name. And I know I brutalized Agard's name. I apologize to him for that. But it's a reliable defense for black. It's just, if you play this opening, as I have once or twice on my channel in the 15-minute category, you have to be willing to accept an isolated d-pawn. So case in point right here. If I want, I can inflict an isolated d-pawn on black right away, which I think I will. I'm going to take on c5, d takes c5. This is a pretty simple line. Just capturing, getting them to take with the bishop. Now I'm going to play a3. And a lot of times, white will follow with b4 and put the bishop on b2 and look to blockade this d4 square. When there's an IQP in the position, the usual prescription for the side playing against the isolated queen's pawn is to blockade the square immediately in front of it. So hence what I'm doing here. He goes d4 right away. Okay. So that invites knight a4. After knight a4, probably they're going to put the bishop on e7. And then if I play b4, what's going on there? I'll try to follow with bishop b2. It's not really worth considering other moves because this one is so obvious. He's playing quickly so far. I mean, everything up till bishop takes c5 and a3 was book. I'm just not sure about d4. This is honestly where my book knowledge kind of ends too. So now, do I want to play b4? Seems to make sense. After b4, I'm not worried about b5 because even though that attacks my knight on the edge of the board, I always have b2 as a retreat square. Moreover, I'm not sure they want to weaken their knight like that. The knight on c6 becomes undefended, and staring down the barrel of this light square bishop, I don't think black's going to be thrilled to play that move. So b4, threatening b5, actually, driving away the knight and attacking this pawn, makes perfect sense in my mind. Yeah, so let's play it. I'm just going to check my opponent's stats real quick. Just curious about this player. They have a peak rating of 2037. They played a lot of 15-minute games, over 10,000 15-minute games. They have a solid win-to-loss ratio, so some good stats. A6 prevents b5, but doesn't stop me from playing bishop b2 if that's what I want to play. I think I will. So just attack this pawn. I am taking away the flight square from my knight, but again, b5 would undefend their knight, so you know, there's moves like knight takes d4 I can consider. I could even play just knight c5 if I was really forced to. I'm not concerned. In World Championship matches, Kasparov relied on the Tarrasch in his, I believe it was his first match against Karpov, the aborted match of 1984. And my opponent just resigned. Okay, I'm not sure why he resigned. Well, I am attacking d4 twice, or 3 times rather, bishop, knight, and queen, so it's likely I'm going to win that pawn, but resignation seems kind of lame. I don't know if I'll post this game or not. It's really short and not of much value, but I might still just because the opening is something we could look at. Going back for a second. So round about here, black should probably play something other than d4. Let's just take a look. I mean, we might as well try to learn from this game, even though it was a short one. So as played in the game, d4, knight a4, bishop e7, b4. Yeah, a6, even though it's a move that defends against b5, probably is just losing the pawn anyways after bishop b2. Guess that's what they determined. Yeah, white's already in the +1 territory. So if black wants to play this way, bishop g4 should be played. bishop b2, queen d7, and then, okay, so I'm winning the pawn anyways. Knight takes d4. Although, isn't my queen a bit overloaded? Trying to defend all three of these points, really. I guess, though, if something like bishop takes e2 trying to deflect the queen, they have problems of their own with this undefended piece. So maybe white can ultimately keep that pawn. Rook a d8, bishop back to b2 or e3. Okay. What if swap here? Rook f takes. Let's say take here. Rook e1, and maybe I have a chance just to go win this pawn. Or a7. Yeah, this still looks pretty awful for black. So I think his decision to play d4 was hasty. The computer suggests bishop e6, reinforcing that d-pawn. Yeah, and I would have played b4 as planned. Let's say bishop e7, bishop b2, rook c8. I'm just looking at the engine moves. Rook c1. And white's plan would be knight b5 to d4, just blockading. And I'm not going to say that this line refutes the Tarrasch, but this is the type of position that I think is pretty comfortable for white, and for which black as a Tarrasch player has to be ready for. I mean, you've got to be willing to kind of suffer sometimes, honestly, in these IQP positions, because black doesn't have, I think, a whole lot to show for the IQP. They probably wish they were a little bit more active than they are in this case. Because when you take on that isolated queen's pawn, it's all about how much activity you can generate if you're the side that has it. So you need that to offset the positional defect. Okay, so short video, but hopefully this showcased a line that you might consider playing as white, and hopefully you learn a thing or two. I'm going to play another one, so watch the next video. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.